It's been about a month since our last video, uh, but because of a lot of rainy days and scheduling conflicts, I've only had about 10 or 12 days with him, or sessions with him. But I think there's plenty of progress to look at and talk about, so here's another video. And we're starting off with just him on the end of the lunge line, no side reins, no nothing. And you can see that the canter is much slower, uh, much more relaxed. The stride is actually a little bit shorter, which is a good thing. He's not putting as much effort into it. He's just sort of cantering along. And for now, we like that. He was trying too hard. He needs to be a little bit lazier and more relaxed in the canter. And here on the right, which was kind of a train wreck before, well, we lost it there, but you'll see in a minute that I bring the circle back in a little bit. That helps slow him down and helps him find his balance enough so that he can come back to, again, another slower, more relaxed canter. And you can see the tail is just hanging there now, and there's no panic. And when he does stop, you see he comes right back to the walk, and it's perfect. You need that. Now here is something interesting. You may have missed it, but you can see I dropped the reins, and rather than him just leaving, as I walked out to him, he stopped. And if you remember from way back in the earliest lessons, I told you that my stop command at that point was when I started to walk out to him, rather than trying to get him to stop on the circle. And here's just sort of a practical thing where you can see the early training came in useful. And then we go on, and here you see I have them on the long reins, or my version of them. They're not that long. But I have the inside rein and the outside rein. And we're just asking him to canter around. It's a smaller circle. It's a little harder for him. And he's got to figure out how to get his butt under him a little bit and find the rhythm and the balance. And that wasn't too bad. Oop, almost fell on his nose, but whatever. Now we'll go to the left. And by the way, I've been doing most of the work this month for the last 10 or 12 days from the ground on the lunge and with these reins. I just find it much easier for me to put a new canter on a horse this way. I mean, you can make the circle whatever size you want, but they don't have to deal with my weight on them. And I like being on the ground, seeing what's going on, and I just think it's easier and less stressful for both horse and rider to use this approach, the groundwork and whatever that I do. Now, some people would be horrified. Oh, it's so hard to make them, canter, you make them lame. I just want to repeat, what makes horses lame is speed and fatigue. You can work slow work, you can do small circles, but you have to, be sensible about it. You can't work them to death, that you make them lame. And I think they're better off, and I've had much better luck working with horses on the smaller circle, where the circle keeps their speed down, and it sort of forces them to figure out how to keep themselves together. Now there, that little buck, you notice my reaction to it was absolutely nothing. And I gave him a minute. He just stood there, and then I walked out. I said, "Okay, let's go back to work." And yeah, I'm sure he did that buck to see if I was going to knock the snot out of him. Because, as I'd said earlier in the video, he's got a history that his reactions tells me he was used to people getting on his case over infractions. And by just sort of ignoring them when they come along, I said, "Okay." And I don't waste any other time. You notice I just ignored that little buck, made nothing of it, and then we went on. We had several good circles, on the lunge line. And now, instead of having to beat him up for bucking, which I didn't care about, I had to pet him and make nice to him and be buddies with him for doing a good job. So don't get, I know a lot. It's very popular to say, oh, if they do something bad, you have 3 seconds to kill them and all this. No, just ignore it. He wasn't really trying to hit me or do anything to me. He was, kicking out someplace else. And he's allowed to make mistakes. And here the left lead canter, you can see, is coming along very nicely. Okay, it sort of fell apart a little bit. But again, you notice when it ends, he's just completely relaxed about it. And here we are going to the right again. I think we're finishing up the day here. And he's not upset with the whip, and he's just sort of meandering on off. This wasn't his best day last month, but it wasn't bad. You can see, okay, he didn't quite get into it, but it wasn't all that terrible. It was much less terrible than it was before. He used to go into the right lead canter by throwing his head up and just sort of hollowing his back and sort of having to jump into it in sort of a bizarre crow hop kind of way. And now he's just figuring out how to step into the canter without any grief. And you can see here he's staying pretty round, and it was pretty easy and pretty relaxed. And look at how he stopped. Perfect.